what we're being called to by all these problems is if you let the sadness or depression or fear overwhelm you or anger, you're making no progress. It'll blow you up. But you need to understand that all this disruption is a call. A call is something disrupts your life. This is the hero's journey, right? You look at all the stories of mankind and you look back and you see there's this same path, and you can make it really complex. I like a simpler version. First simple version is your life is seeming good or bad and then something disrupts it. You go through a divorce, you suddenly have a health problem, somebody in your family has a health problem, you lose your job, or something happens to the economy, or COVID, or whatever. It doesn't have to be within your control. And what does that require? It means you got to be called on a new adventure. It makes you get out of your comfort zone. That's where we are right now. You either fall back and freak out, or you discipline your disappointment and you move forward. And what happens? You go on a journey, and on that journey, you're going to face all kinds of demons and challenge and dragons. You're going to meet some new mentors. You're going to develop some new skills. And if you do the hard work and push through, you'll make it to the other side, you'll be transformed. You'll be the hero of your own life, and you can bring back what you've learned and help other people. And it's not that hard. I mean, I'll give you 7 steps real fast. Step 1, what makes somebody go on a journey is when they unleash or awaken their deeper desires. You have to know what is it you want and why do you want it? Because it's like New Year's resolutions. Why don't they work? Because when you do a New Year's resolution, you're just saying what you want to have happen, right? It's not really a resolution. When you resolve something, that means you cut off anything except what you've committed to. People don't resolve. They go, I kind of like this. Most people don't have much of a plan. But if you know what you want with real clarity and why you want it, now you're on the path. First step is, what do you want? If you don't know what you want, you're not even on the path. If you know exactly what you want, you get really clear and you know why you want it, you got enough reasons to push you through. Now the second step is you got to find and face the truth. And that's what has to happen for everybody. Find and face the truth means see the gap between where you are and where you want to be. There's always a gap if you're honest. You have to say, here's where I am, here's where I want to be, and you have to be honest. It's not where I want to be. It's uncomfortable. But then the second part is you got to uncover, face the truth, what has gotten in the way in the past. And there's only 5 things usually. Fear of failure, fear of success, fear of unknown, fear of not looking good, fear of all those things. Or 2, a limiting belief, like, I've tried everything. Once you believe that, you don't even try anything anymore. Someone trying to lose weight, that's the common one they'll say, because they've tried a bunch of things that didn't work. Whatever the story is, there's a story, a belief system that limits them, and so it keeps them from maximizing their ability. Third thing that could have gotten in the way, some other emotion, overwhelm, stress, anger, resentment. Those things just shut down your progress. So you have to make a change. Fourth thing that it could be for you, well, it could really be that you just got some bad habits. It's like about 52% of what most people do in a day is automated. It's habit. And what's good about that is you don't think about driving your car. What's bad about that is you get stuck doing the same things over and over, thinking the same thoughts, having the same feelings, not really changing. So you have to say, there's some habits that need to change. I want to lose 24 pounds, and my first thing in the morning is go to Starbucks and have a mocha smoke or whatever, and it's just, you're not going to get there. You have to have a different set of habits. And then the 5th one is, or were you missing a skill? Like, for example, some people don't know what to do financially. They don't know how to invest, and so they don't do anything. And then they wake up figuring out, why am I so broke? Well, you're broke because you're a consumer, you're not an owner, you know? So you have to look at what skill do you need to get? Is there a skill for running your business? When I started my business, I had no skills. I had passion, I had desire, I had hunger, I had great abilities, but I didn't know how to run a business. So I learned those skills. And now I've got 114 companies. We do $7 billion in business across all kinds of different industries you could imagine. It's the most fun thing in the world because I know how to do it. So if you know what you really want and you face the truth and find the real truth, then you've got to put a massive action plan together. And that just means not a perfect plan, but just what are some things you do immediately start making progress? Because as you make progress, new insights will come to you. And then the 4th one, and I'll finish with that, is just you have to then do the hard work. You got to slay your dragons. You got to slay that limiting belief or that anger or that hurt or that sadness. You got to create that compelling future. You got to go get that skill. And then after those first 4 steps, you'll have momentum. Now you just need a daily practice, something that puts you in the place of doing the right thing each day, so it becomes a habit. You need to measure more often. When I take over a company, the first thing I do is measure more often. And I find the things that matter, and I'll measure them not once a year, then you have a bad year. Measure once a month, you're not gonna have bad years. You got 12 times to make it better. Measure it once a week, you won't have bad months. Measure it once a day. And some companies, when I take over, I'll measure some things 3 or 4 times a day, because where focus goes, energy flows. And so now all of a sudden you're measuring and improving. You've been doing the daily practice, you'll then get to a point where you can celebrate. And once you celebrate, it starts all over again, because you'll be called on another journey, because we're meant to grow. If you ask, people ask me, what does it take to be happy? You met millions of people. What does it take? So many people are unhappy. Well, relationships are one of the keys to that, but there is one key even within relationship: progress. Progress equals happiness.
The aphorism. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he, not only embraces the whole of a man's being, but is so comprehensive as to reach out to every condition and circumstance of his life. A man is literally what he thinks, his character being the complete sum of all his thoughts. As the plant springs from, and could not be without, the seed, so every act of a man springs from the hidden seeds of thought, and could not have appeared without them. This applies equally to those acts called spontaneous and unpremeditated, as to those which are deliberately executed. Act is the blossom of thought, and joy and suffering are its fruits. Thus does a man garner in the sweet and bitter fruitage of his own husbandry. Thought in the mind hath made us what we are. By thought was wrought and built. If a man's mind hath evil thoughts, pain comes on him as comes the wheel the ox behind. If one endure in purity of thought, joy follows him as his own shadow, sure. Man is a growth by law, and not a creation by artifice, and cause and effect is as absolute and undeviating in the hidden realm of thought as in the world of visible and material things. A noble and godlike character is not a thing of favor or chance, but is the natural result of continued effort in right thinking, the effect of long-cherished association with godlike thoughts. An ignoble and bestial character by the same process is the result of the continued harboring of groveling thoughts. Man is made or unmade by himself. In the armory of thought he forges the weapons by which he destroys himself. He also fashions the tools with which he builds for himself heavenly mansions of joy and strength and peace. By the right choice and true application of thought, man ascends to the divine perfection. By the abuse and wrong application of thought, he descends below the level of the beast. Between these two extremes are all the grades of character, and man is their maker and master. Of all the beautiful truths pertaining to the soul which have been restored and brought to light in this age, none is more gladdening or fruitful of divine promise and confidence than this: that man is the master of thought, the molder of character, and the maker and shaper of condition, environment, and destiny. As a being of power, intelligence, and love, and the lord of his own thoughts, man holds the key to every situation, and contains within himself that transforming and regenerative agency by which he may make himself what he wills. Man is always the master, even in his weaker and most abandoned state. But in his weakness and degradation, he is the foolish master who misgoverns his household. When he begins to reflect upon his condition, and to search diligently for the law upon which his being is established, he then becomes the wise master, directing his energies with intelligence, and fashioning his thoughts to fruitful issues. Such is the conscious master, and man can only thus become by discovering within himself the laws of thought, which discovery is totally a matter of application, self-analysis, and experience. Only by much searching and mining are gold and diamonds obtained, and man can find every truth connected with his being, if he will dig deep into the mine of his soul, and that he is the maker of his character, the molder of his life, and the builder of his destiny. He may unerringly prove, if he will watch, control, and alter his thoughts, tracing their effects upon himself, upon others, and upon his life and circumstances, linking cause and effect by patient practice and investigation, and utilizing his every experience, even to the most trivial, everyday occurrence, as a means of obtaining that knowledge of himself, which is understanding, wisdom, power. In this direction, as in no other, is the law absolute that he that seeketh findeth, and to him that knocketh it shall be opened. For only by patience, practice, and ceaseless importunity can a man enter the door of the temple of knowledge. Until thought is linked with purpose, there is no intelligent accomplishment. With the majority, the bark of thought is allowed to drift upon the ocean of life. Aimlessness is a vice, and such drifting must not continue for him who would steer clear of catastrophe and destruction. They who have no central purpose in their life fall an easy prey to petty worries, fears, troubles, and self-pityings, all of which are indications of weakness, which lead, just as surely as deliberately planned sins, though by a different route, to failure, unhappiness, and loss, for weakness cannot persist in a power-evolving universe. A man should conceive of a legitimate purpose in his heart and set out to accomplish it. He should make this purpose the centralizing point of his thoughts. It may take the form of a spiritual ideal, or it may be a worldly object, according to his nature at the time being. But whichever it is, he should steadily focus his thought forces upon the object which he has set before him. He should make this purpose his supreme duty, and should devote himself to its attainment, not allowing his thoughts to wander away into ephemeral fancies, longings, and imaginings. This is the royal road to self-control and true concentration of thought. Even if he fails again and again to accomplish his purpose, as he necessarily must until weakness is overcome, the strength of character gained will be the measure of his true success, and this will form a new starting point for future power and triumph. Those who are not prepared for the apprehension of a great purpose should fix the thoughts upon the faultless performance of their duty, no matter how insignificant their task may appear. Only in this way can the thoughts be gathered and focused, and resolution and energy be developed, which being done, there is nothing which may not be accomplished. The weakest soul, knowing its own weakness, and believing this truth that strength can only be developed by effort and practice, will, thus believing, at once begin to exert itself, and, adding effort to effort, patience to patience, and strength to strength, will never cease to develop, and will at last grow divinely strong. As the physically weak man can make himself strong by careful and patient training, so the man of weak thoughts can make them strong by exercising himself in right thinking. To put away aimlessness and weakness, and to begin to think with purpose, is to enter the ranks of those strong ones who only recognize failure as one of the pathways to attainment, who make all conditions serve them, and who think strongly, attempt fearlessly, and accomplish masterfully. Having conceived of his purpose, a man should mentally mark out a straight pathway to its achievement, looking neither to the right nor the left. Doubts and fears should be rigorously excluded. They are disintegrating elements which break up the straight line of effort, rendering it crooked, ineffectual, useless. Thoughts of doubt and fear never accomplished anything, and never can. They always lead to failure. Purpose, energy, power to do, and all strong thoughts cease when doubt and fear creep in. The will to do springs from the knowledge that we can do. Doubt and fear are the great enemies of knowledge, and he who encourages them, who does not slay them, thwarts himself at every step. He who has conquered doubt and fear has conquered failure. His every thought is allied with power, and all difficulties are bravely met and wisely overcome. His purposes are seasonably planted, and they bloom and bring forth fruit, which does not fall prematurely to the ground. Thought allied fearlessly to purpose becomes creative force. He who knows this is ready to become something higher and stronger than a mere bundle of wavering thoughts and fluctuating sensations. He who does this has become the conscious and intelligent wielder of his mental powers.